Let's be brutally honest right now. That's a big question.
I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to go to base camp, but they want to go to the very top.
Whether it's here, India, New York.
Civilization was born at happy hour.
That's what wins. That's what stands out. That's what people are interested in.
That's what I want to know.
The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hospopreneurs Podcast. Founder and Managing Director of the Australian, New Zealand and Los Angeles arms of UK-based premier drinks consultancy Sweet and Chilli, Cameron Northway has worked for VIP clients like the Rolling Stones, Kanye West and Prince Harry over a 2-decade-long career in the beverage industry. That career has led him to collect a long list of other involvements, including Rocker, a venue in Bondi, Cocktail Porter, a pre-made and DIY cocktail business, the Whisky Mill, an online rare whiskey store, and most recently, ATYPICAL, a hospitality design agency that has already developed food and beverage systems and experiences for some of the most luxurious developments in Australia. So that we can keep the lights on, there's a company I'd like to share with you. It's called Access Collins. They're the only fully integrated end-to-end system on the market for comprehensive booking and event management. No one else does this. Their platform is helping operators increase foot traffic, maximize revenue, tackle no-shows, and save many hours each week through automation. Find out more at bit.ly/hospo sponsor. Hello and welcome to the show, Cam.
Hey, how are you there?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Cam, you have a number of businesses, namely Sweet and Chilli, which has set you up to guide you on your career, and you moved over to the UK when you were 24, and things have come a long way since then. I think there are 4 different brands that you're now part of. You own 3 or 4 of them, and I'm very excited to open that up today. But as you know, the first question that I like to ask on the program is a crazy hospitality story or exceptional hospitality experience. I'd love to know what you've brought to the show today.
Well, thank you, and great to be here. There are a few businesses going on, but crazy stories. So my crazy hospitality experiences generally all occurred in London when I was a young 20-something living in London and working with Sweet and Chilli at the time. There's a number of stories. We were doing these amazing events, the production value and the events in London is like no other in the world. And we ended up bartending at one of the Rolling Stones houses, and it was just serving all the Rolling Stones. I couldn't believe it. My life, it's one of my favorite bands. And we're back at their actual house, cleaning glassware, coming out and then serving everyone from Bobby Gillespie to Kate Moss to Mick Jagger. It was insane. Definitely one of the highlights of my London experience, from that to serving Prince Harry, who was a prince at the time, and even Warnie at a Queen's Polo. So the stories that I've got just on and on, there was always just someone or something. And as a 25, 26-year-old, having come from Perth, where you don't see any of that, to being dropped into London and it was happening on each weekend, those experiences were crazy, and just the buzz and the lifestyle of traveling around doing those events was something I'll never forget.
Absolutely. And we have had a few guests. So last 150 episodes have had a number of guests who have mentioned working with celebrities and those sorts of experiences that they have had over their time in the industry, those who've operated anyway or haven't come from another industry and moved into the hospitality or its various verticals within the supply chain. So love to know, Cam, why you do what you do. It's normally the second question I ask, and this could very well tie into some of those exciting experiences that you've had in the industry. What really kept you inspired and pushed you along your journey? You did have some of those exciting times working with Sweet and Chilli.
I'd actually left to London for 6 months when I was 24, and I'd been in hospitality since I left high school. I was studying alongside that, finished studies, continued with hospitality, started managing some bars and restaurants. And as a 24-year-old, I'd actually burnt myself out working hospitality. You do your 60, 70 hours a week as a manager there. And as a young manager, just trying to understand and learn things along the way. Certainly burnt myself out. Went to go travel in London. Decided that I'd stay there a little bit longer. And I did some work in marketing. And London is an expensive place to live. And I remember just thinking, well, I'll just pick up a bar job. And I worked at a private members club in Shoreditch, which was a lot of fun. And from there, the owner, Alan, and founder of Sweet and Chilli, came in and I started doing those events. And that's what really invigorated my life back into the hospitality industry again. It was going to these events that we were talking about. And I think the first event was actually the Isle of Wight Festival. And we travelled off a group of 50 of London's and the UK's best bartenders, all shacked up camping together on tour buses. And the Rolling Stones were playing at that festival as well as Foo Fighters. Like, it was a huge 3-day festival. And I was like, wow. So pretty much Monday morning when I got back to London, quit my marketing job and went full-time with Sweet and Chilli from there, and I've never looked back.
What was it then that really kept you interested and passionate about it? Sounds like the excitement of hospitality and being in that environment has really kept you motivated to move along the way. And Sweet and Chilli in itself, and back at that time, and maybe it was a slightly different business back in those days as well. I'd love to know if it was different and if things have changed. But that sort of environment is quite different to working a bar job, the 60, 70-hour week that we all know. Tell me then what it was about that space that really kept you excited and interested and wanting to pave what you have since, which we're going to open up a little bit.
Sure. And you're right. It is a very different environment. And that's what I really enjoyed. It was the constant change of environments where it wasn't a certain restaurant where you just put your blinkers on and you go in each day and you just step by step and it's process and it's the same regulars and the same customers. It was going to a new place. There was always something that would go wrong. You had to think on your feet quick. There was music, fashion, fun. It was just very exciting. And I was, again, 24. I went to London for an experience. I went to travel, I went to a journey, and this allowed me to do that. So every week it was a different festival or a different fashion show or a different private event that we were doing. And the business was very different back then. It was very event-led, and it still is very event-led. However, we offer a lot more range of services now. And that really was hook, line and sinker for me then. And then I guess as I've grown the business and matured myself, I find myself sitting behind a laptop probably a lot more than I need to or want to, for that matter. I'd like to be out there doing the fun things sometimes, but we've grown the business from being very much an experience hands-on to strategic marketing business. We offer brand advocacy, we offer training, we offer a lot of the specialized drinks services, which has been within our skill set, and we were doing on the side to the events. And then we really brought that probably around 2010. We really brought that all together. Just to give you some context, Sweet Chilli started in 2002 by Alan. I joined 2006. And then in 2010, we really brought all of these other elements together. So we now have 3 major pillars. So it's drink strategy, trade advocacy, and experiences is the third.
To catch us up there, Cam, so you mentioned there you moved to the UK and you got this job with Sweet and Chilli, and then you moved quite quickly to then become a shareholder of the business, and then moving forward, you expanded into Australia and New Zealand for the business as well. And tell us then what that looked like. I know we're talking about a long period of time to catch up to today, but what did that sort of journey look like for you to then own the number of brands that you have today?
It's a bit confusing. There's a few. I try to keep my head screwed on to understand what I've got to be working on each day. But homesickness was the reason I came back to Australia. So living in London for the best part of 5 years, I may or may not have had the right visas at the time. So it was easier to come home, and it was a no-brainer to set up Sweet and Chilli back in Australia. There was definitely a gap in the market for it at the time. And it was what I was passionate about. It's what I wanted to continue doing. Like, I could not see myself doing another job or working for somebody else. I've always had, I guess, an entrepreneurial spirit where I wanted to work. I wanted to have my own business or businesses. And the best times of my young adult life actually revolved around work. And there was a bit of a grey area between work and fun at times. So, I wanted to continue that for myself when I got back to Australia. And, I came back to Australia. I did a couple of freelance events, projects, and then before long set up the business, and with having Sweet and Chilli set up in Australia. So that was around 2011. And on the back of that, we actually set up Sweet and Chilli in LA in 2015 on the success that we had in Australia. So we're still operating in London, Sydney and LA. And then we have projects going on in New Zealand, Kuala Lumpur, Spain, with quite a lot of things happening all the time around the world. So it really has grown, and we stick to those three pillars that we do, the drink strategy, the trade advocacy, and brand experience as our core offering. And through the success of Sweet and Chilli, I'm very fortunate enough to have some funds behind me, which allowed me then to go in different directions. And we've set up ATYPICAL, which is our hospitality concepts and solutions business. And that really is a hospitality consultancy, if you like, generally targeting hoteliers and developers when they're building new buildings, new hotels, new developments, to ensure that they're setting themselves up for success longer term. And then a passion project of mine was cocktail porter. And that was really bringing cocktails to people at home. We work on events and we're talking about this stuff all the time. And for myself, it was just common knowledge how to make these drinks and what to do. And every party I was at, I'd always make them for my friends. And it was just so obvious to me at the time that people were scared of cocktails, maybe like they are at cooking. You go to a bottle shop and you go, well, why do I need to buy 5 different ingredients, then go get ice and glassware and all the rest when I've got this great bottle of rosé or a 6-pack of beer, which will give me the same result I'm after. So we started Cocktail Porter, which 2 products. We do a DIY cocktail kit, which you send to a house. So it's sort of like a HelloFresh box for cocktails. And the second is a bottled cocktail, so a pre-prepared bottled cocktail. So probably the 3 big businesses that we've got. And I was lucky enough, because of the success of Sweet and Chilli, to go out into a different way, because Sweet and Chilli is very much a business to business company. It's very much business to business. And we've been lucky to go with this direct to consumer model, which is Cocktail Porter as well.
You've been in ops, you've had that experience, on the ground floor and the day-to-day operations of those businesses in hospitality, given that you've worked in events. By the sounds of things, that interest in marketing, and you did leave that job in London, but you have kind of tied that all in together, working in a space that does involve a lot of those skills. So what was it then that about marketing and that side of the business, that side of your work, that's really interested you and kept you doing that sort of work?
It came about definitely that the skill set was within the teams. And secondly, we were delivering great results on the projects we're working for clients. And we built the trust, which then they said, hey, we've got maybe this project. We don't know if it aligns with what you do, but if you'd like to look at it. And my business partner, Alan, and myself are both quite entrepreneurial. So dangle something in front of us, we're likely to try to snap at it. So we kept building trust and we just kept building the right skill sets within the team. And as I said, we just kept growing. So I think that's how it sort of started. And, it certainly has grown arms and legs, Sweet and Chilli, since it first started. And I think what keeps me passionate about it now is actually the people I get to work with. We have this amazing team of marketeers, event producers, and hospitality professional. There's different skill sets, all with a passion for food and beverage, who all bring different skill sets to the business. And just to work with them every day on fun stuff, like we're talking drinks and hospitality and food and beverage here. We're not talking going to a bank and counting numbers. We're talking about fun stuff. So if you're doing something that you enjoy that's legitimately fun and you're working with people that you like and you get along with and make it even more fun, it's hard to call a job sometimes.
And I absolutely see what you're saying there, Cam, too, with the fact that you're playing with fun stuff. Every day is dealing with these fun and exciting experiences and different people and new things. My background is in finance as well, and I actually enjoy the counting the numbers at the bank.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And something that has been continued to be alluring for me and drawn me back to hospitality is those fun times, those good experiences. And the fact that hospitality, I learned from it in the early days. In fact, I think it was even before I started the show. I met a guy in Melbourne, just a cafe owner, who said to me that his favorite thing about hospitality was it's the industry with the most happy people. And that stuck with me. I think I have mentioned that on the show before, but I'd love to know what you really think hospitality is defined by.
Great service for me. Hospitality is a simple concept. You're looking after people. So for me, it's great service. We've got a restaurant in Bondi as well as these businesses. So I co-own that with Darren Robertson of Three Blue Ducks, and his other celebrity chef gigs. But for me, it's always about the service for hospitality. And I try to bring that through. Well, I don't try. I do stress that and bring that through the agency. Like there's always the customer's always right. And, we always go head over heels from our agency point of view to really make them feel like it is hospitality that they're getting. Whilst it is a commercial agency and we're working with clients, we're still trying to exude that same sort of hospitality service and experience. So for me, definitely defined by the service.
A lot of guests do often say the similar sorts of things about service and hospitality industry being about service, and then tying that into whatever business they're operating at the time. You've mentioned that about your businesses. I'd love to know how you do that. What is it that then allows you to deliver that with these other businesses? Maybe their service, you've got a D2C business, you've got other B2B businesses. How do you put that service component into businesses that aren't typically hospitality?
We're fortunate enough that we've hired a lot of people with hospitality backgrounds. So when I put it out and, use this as a bit of a talking point with the team to say, hey guys, this is how we should be treating our customers, whether they're in person, whether it's a virtual masterclass, whether it's we're looking at photography brief, use your hospitality background, make them feel special, make them feel like they want to work with us, make them want to come back, just as you would in a restaurant, in a bar, in a hotel. And it works. People that we've got go over and above, like the team go over and above. At the moment, they've been run off their feet. We've got people in the cocktail porter business that don't normally work on that side of the business. They're completely elsewhere, but they bring that real customer first mentality to make sure that they're getting the service because, as you know, Australia Post has been delayed with a lot of packages right now because of COVID. Everyone's shopping at home, which has been great for the business, but the guys are getting complaints left, right and centre. Nothing to do with us. And I don't blame Australia Post for the delays either. They've just run off their feet, but we cop it and then we have to turn that customer around and make sure that they're happy. So, having people from a background with hospitality really helps. Like I always say, everyone should do 12 months of hospitality in their life to understand what it is to be hospitable. And I think we'd be a much better world if that was the case.
I have heard similar ideas that, everyone should do 12 months of hospitality in their lives because it really does. It teaches you so many things. For listeners out there who aren't from the industry, it really does. And if you've listened to the show or up to episode 150, if you've listened to a few episodes, you'll hear that along the way. Just before we do progress into, a little bit further into the episode, maybe a little bit about the numbers of what it is that you do and depending on sort of where things go today. What is it that you say when you go to a party and you meet someone who, you've never met before and they ask you what you do? Given that you've got a few different businesses, what is it that you say? How do you present yourself?
Oh, I confuse myself, to be honest. Look, there's a bit going on. So Sweet and Chilli is split into two areas. There's our agency and then we have our event side. Additionally to that, we have ATYPICAL, which I mentioned before, our hospitality concept solution business. We have another catering business called Cocktails and Canapes. We have Rocco the restaurant. We've got Cocktail Porter in Australia, and we've launched London during last year with a view to take that to the US as well at some point. We have the Whisky Mill, which is another direct-to-consumer e-commerce site, which we sell little whiskey tasting kits as well as rare and luxury whiskies, anywhere from $100 up to $10,000. And there is another restaurant that I'm about to launch down in Melbourne, which I haven't really told anyone about yet. So you're sort of the first to know about that. That's going to be in St. Kilda. Hopefully, with the building restrictions, we'll be able to get into that by February 2022. And further to that, there is one tech piece that I'm working on at the moment as well, an app. But the main thing and the vein of all of these, they all follow hospitality and they all follow food and beverage and they all follow experiences. So I'm not a crazy lunatic trying to do too many things that are completely different. They're all very, very similar. And then our team work across many different areas of the business. So they might dip into different areas where their skill set is needed. So they're not necessarily just focused or got the blinkers in one department or one area. That we utilize everybody. And we actually found that really helpful during COVID last year. We didn't lay anyone off. And we've actually been hiring through the current lockdowns. And we just find, okay, you've got that skill set, you can do that. Great, you're now on this project as well. So we've been able to move people around through that. But for me, what I would just say, food and beverage, hospitality guy. It's like you start rolling off a resume of different things. So generally I just go with sweet and chili, and then if they're interested in that, I might explain a bit more.
Totally. And there are a number of projects, and you did mention that there in your answer, but you can absolutely see that common thread of food and beverage, of hospitality, of events. There is that common denominator between all the things that you do. And listeners who are familiar with my program will understand that it really does. And that's a lot that I discuss on the program, is about those concepts that do cross-pollinate between various, even just more broadly than hospitality and food and bev. Like things from finance that you can draw from to then use in a more practical space, or in manufacturing, or in various and vastly different industries that we can then apply. So I try to share that with listeners as we go. Another comment that you had mentioned before was about the people that you work with. Your business, and particularly with Sweet and Chili in Australia, since I've been in the industry, which has been a few years now, the people that you've hired have been some of the most well-regarded people in each city that I've worked in anyway. And they have really done some incredible things, and then often been hired by you or by other, there are other businesses that they do go on to, but a lot really do go on to Sweet and Chili. So I'd love to know a bit more about how you actually select these amazing people that you work with. You mentioned there you work with some great people. It was something that you're really proud of. So what do you do to really pick the right people to work with you?
Totally. And we've put so much time and effort into, our recruitment. And when we won a big contract with Diageo, I think 2013, 2014, we had to upscale the team, and we already had a great base of people, and basically went out and said, who do we want to hire? Who would we want to work with? Who's exciting, who's great at what they do, who can really help us benefit, and vice versa, us benefit back to them. So recruitment was very much in the early days. All myself and my business partner here in Australia, Jared Plummer, we would go out and actually meet these people in their bars, or we would go and sit down for coffee with them. And we were always looking at what the industry is doing and who's doing what. And we spent a lot of personal time into making sure that it was done, and we hired the people we wanted, rather than a recruitment agency, or rather than outsourcing it with an agency or a HR specialist. So it was very much a personable thing. And we've been very fortunate enough that they did want to join our team. And over time, people come and go. And since some people have left, some amazing things that have happened. We've had Sean Baxter, who's left us as our national whiskey ambassador, who went and set up Never Never, now globally award-winning gin. We've got Jamie Fleming from your neck of the woods setting up his own venue.
He was the fifth guest on the show, so a long time ago now, 145 episodes ago.
Fantastic. Natalie Ning, who's got her venue in Sydney and is looking at another one. So I hope to think that we've been able to share our expertise and passion for the industry, and allow our staff to then be set up for what they might want to do. And hopefully everyone's taking a little bit of my entrepreneurial spirit and doing their own things, because it's amazing to see when you've worked with someone so closely that they go out and do their own thing and then they make it work. So it's a really nice feeling.
You have mentioned before that something that really excites you and that you're passionate about is the people that you work with. So how then do you select those people? You said you've worked a lot with a HR agency or an individual or a specialist, right? But then how do you actually select for the sorts of skills and abilities that you're looking for in those individuals for your business?
So at the start, it was very much a bit of a, did they pass the friendship test? Would we want to go out for a beer with this person in the early days? And obviously the business has grown and evolved, and there's such a bigger team now that we do have a HR person on board. So she'll go through, and Amy's actually been there since the start of our journey here with Sweet and Chili in Australia. So she knows the business inside and out. So I trust her explicitly with the people that she puts in front of me to hire. But she will generally do the whole process now, from advertising or headhunting to discussions. And then literally I'll just dip in at the last minute to say hi. And I have full trust that they're hiring people for the right needs.
Cam, what is it that you're learning about or exploring at the moment? What are you pushing forward, or where are you innovating? I mean, there are a number of businesses that you could talk about here, or it could be personally. Well, I'd love to know what it is that you're working on.
So when COVID happened, things have definitely shifted and plans have shifted, and not been completely shelved, but certainly when COVID happened and we had no idea what was going to happen at the start, how long we might be locked down for, and we didn't think it would even be here right now. But the first thing I said to the team was everyone has a job. No one is being made redundant. It doesn't matter that we've lost overnight a couple $1 million worth of events that just got cancelled for the rest of the year, going back last year. And I said, we'll find work for you. And this is where I looked at those skill sets to move people around the business and ensure that everyone was employed. So at the time, utilising those experience within the team, we really found that cocktail porter took off. And that's where a lot of my time probably has gone in the last 6 to 12 months, because there's been quite a large growth within that business. And then there's people and skill sets that are all chiming in here and there. So I think definitely the cocktail porter and the e-commerce side, and really learning that side of the business. Like, it is so far from anything I'd ever done before. And I knew when it was a bit more of a passion project, I knew it was good. I knew it could work. But now it's really taken off, and it's a legitimate business with its own legs that it stands on. And it's trying to catch up and understand, how does it all work? Like, how does Facebook advertising work? How does Google pay-per-click work? Things that are never part of my skill set. So that's been a really interesting journey. Additionally to that, Sweet and Chilli on that side, it's really been about steering the ship, because it's been sort of muddy waters that we've been going through. No events. Training has gone from in-person to virtual. We're doing a lot more photo shoots and video shoots because people are wanting content, because they can't produce experiences in real life. So it's been steering that to make sure that, we stay above water and we really come out the other side ready to hit the ground running. Rocker, our restaurant, that's been a really tough one, but amazing business partner in Darren, and then our other business partners in Stu and Ian, they have made that an amazing opportunity to go forward as soon as we can open. We're doing some renovations there now. So across everything, there's something going on. My hardest thing is probably trying to split my time each day or week to be like, well, today I need to work on this and that, because there's always something urgent that pops up that might need my attention, or I just simply want to be across. So there's a bit going on.
Where are you looking to find answers to these questions? What sort of businesses or models or brands or processes are you looking to, maybe even internationally as well? Everyone's looking for answers at this time. It doesn't have to be specifically related to COVID and on the service front, but even with the D2C business that you've got there with Cocktail Porter, that was the first one that you brought up. I don't know if that's because it's the most salient to you in your mind there, and maybe that's why it was the first. But what is it that you're looking to for answers?
We use the skill sets of the team. So the weekly whip will bring up any challenges we might have. If there's a challenge, always come with a solution, whether that's myself or the team, so we can work through what those are. But also we've employed, and off the back of the success of Cocktail Porter, we've employed other agencies there. We've got about 3 different agencies at the moment on retainer to support us through what has been a substantial growth over the last 12 to 18 months, and utilising those skill sets that A, the team have, but B, these agencies have, and making sure that we are going to the professionals with these things, because we fumbled around with Cocktail Porter a long time, for about 2.5 years on our own, before sort of reaching out to get this help. And, we've found that the people out there that do this on a day in and day out basis, we tell our clients, you can go and try and do that yourself, or you can come to us. And yes, there's going to be a charge, and it might be more than what you're expecting, but you will get the outcome you're looking for. So I kind of had to take some of my own advice there with Cocktail Porter and go for some of the professionals out there.
It's good to also hear that you are humble in doing so, because putting your money where your mouth is important too. And, if you're advising other businesses to do that, then it's great to hear that you are following your own advice. You mentioned there that you have 3 different businesses on retainer to assist you in your development. Who then are you working with, or who are you looking to for that guidance, for that assistance as you develop?
So we have a few different businesses, as I said, with a few different agencies that we now work with. And one of them is a explicitly email marketing, and that's all they do. And, they've really come on board. You've got people jumping on the site and they put stuff in their shopping cart, they don't purchase. And we then have probably a step of 10 emails that we can send someone to try to then convert them into a purchaser. So we're that annoying company that sends all the emails after you've put something into your shopping box that you didn't want to buy. they've done a great job. We already had a really high impact rate from our internal work we did on our electronic marketing. But what we've done with this agency is we've changed software systems. It's further integrated into Shopify, and it really does allow for a more seamless transition. And we're capturing a lot more information and data. And in this game, data is key. So we're making sure that we can make every sale or convert as many sales as we can. Secondly, to electronic direct marketing business, we work with a advertising company. So they're a e-commerce based company, and they only work on SEO and then Google and Facebook. With Facebook comes Instagram. So they're specialized in that area, and we're doing our own ads before, and we did a great job. We didn't have the level of success that they've had since they've come on board though. And there's been a few things, the COVID has certainly accelerated. But again, they're the professionals. They understand how to optimize every ad and make sure we're getting bang for buck. And then the reporting is really good. So then we can analyze at our end and say, all right, well, that cocktail kit went really well. What was it? Was it the brand that was in it? Was it the ingredients? Was it the time we put it on sale? So we can get down to that nitty gritty data of why it works. And then we can use that learning for the next time. So they're in charge of all of that. And we work really closely with them to create their campaigns, and then they manage it for us. And then lastly is actually just simply an e-commerce specialized website developer. Their whole game is to ensure that everyone who lands on our site, so we've put the ad up, we've sent the email out, and then this agency, they make sure when they get on the site that we're giving ourselves every chance to actually convert them to a sale. So you've had a bad user experience on a website before and you're just like, no, can't be bothered. I don't want to do it. If it's not now, if you don't have your shop set up properly on mobile, again, you're missing opportunities. So we work with them really closely. And then again, it's constant optimizing, constant tweaking things to be like, okay, is this working? Is this not working? And they're in the background doing a lot of that for us.
Fantastic. And thank you for sharing those sorts of insights on your business as well. And they were all focused on that D2C space with Cocktail Porter, but I'm sure that they apply more broadly and the sorts of things that you'll learn through working with those businesses to guide you on your journey there. They'll be able to assist you with other businesses that do need that sort of support. So the things that you work on, things that you'll learn there. I'm interested to know, just as we get to the latter end of the episode, what's your biggest challenge at the moment? I don't necessarily mean it. I always flesh this question out a little bit better than just asking your biggest challenge, because anyone can ask that question. What I'm really looking for is, what is it that is giving you a lot of friction at the moment in your work or personally? What is it that you're facing currently that you're challenged by, that you're working through?
Personally, it's probably work-life balance. And that's only, I'm a victim of my own entrepreneurial spirit in that sense. So like, okay, let's do another restaurant and let's do this other business and let's have this new tech thing come along. So I put myself into that position. So I've only got myself to blame, but definitely trying to find that work-life balance. For work, I think most of the guests that probably come on recently would default to COVID, and that has been such a challenge. For us, it has been like everybody else. We've had some really good wins through COVID. And as I said, we've been hiring people through this time. A lot of operators have made people redundant. We've had those wins, but we've also had heavy losses as well. So, there's been no events in Sydney for the last 3 months at least. Before that, we had some respite events before the lockdown again. So COVID for us has been a challenge. Working remotely has been a challenge. However, it's been also a bit of an eye-opener for us because we're always in the office. We're always there. And I think we've all now learned that we can do this remotely. So FaceTime is good, but also work from home is, here to stay. It's definitely here to stay with Sweet and Chilli now businesses, but I think for a lot of people out there, it would be there to stay. And we might even look at downsizing our office or we've got a bar in our office and a big sort of meeting room and space, and we might turn that into a bit of a photographic studio as well and push that side of the business further.
Thank you for starting to touch on what it is that you're doing to work through those and how you are adapting. Do you have some more information on what it is that you are doing to change the way that you operate, adjust your business, and then adapt and move forward and grow further? You've done a great job to retain staff through that time. And as you said, a lot of businesses are making staff redundant. But what is it more so that you are doing to move forward, or the people or businesses that are guiding you along the way? You mentioned you've got, just in the last answer there, about 3 businesses on retainer there assisting with cocktail porter. But I guess more generally in business, are there people that are guiding you to make these decisions? And to ask a double-barrel question, what are those adjustments that you're making to the business?
Not really. I've got my business partner, Alan, in London, and we don't get to chat nearly enough. He's busy in his own right. And I don't have a mentor at the moment. Definitely something I've been looking into. I've had one in the past and they've been great. However, COVID, we've sort of been sailing that ship by ourselves and very much by myself. So the weight of the world feels like it's on your shoulders at times, but we've taken 2 steps back through all of this. And what we've been doing is setting up, we launched the catering company during COVID. We did an event for Rolls-Royce and Bulgari and some high-end clients like Penfolds. But then we went back into lockdown. I'm probably doubling down and setting up new businesses and getting ready. So we know we've taken 2 steps back, and as everything opens up, looking to really go 10 steps forward.
With these new businesses, is it that you're trying to diversify your revenue base, or is it that you think that there's a future in these and that's this time in lockdown has given you that clarity to see that? Or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, it's absolutely a combination of the two. So when there's an idea, it'll take a lot of work for someone to talk me out of it. And the team are probably just rolling their eyes. I've got an idea, and everyone's like, oh God, here we go again. Certainly the diversification of the team. And that's one of our core strategies as the business, and we have 3 core strategies that we sort of work through. And one is to continue to nurture companies or businesses or clients that we've already got. The second is to grow smaller clients into larger clients. And the third one is diversification. And that's where you'll see things like cocktail porter came about. Because it was like, well, how do we diversify what we're already doing, but potentially to a different audience or a different customer? So yeah, diversification is a big one for us.
Fantastic. Last couple of questions for you today, Cam, as we wrap up. I'd like to know, where is it that you ultimately want to be? You're building all these amazing businesses. What does success really look like to you personally? And then how do you define that?
It's a good question, because if you had have asked me 10 years ago, Sweet and Chilli would be at the level it's at, I probably would have laughed and be like, well, I'll take that any day. I'll be very happy with that. And the next few years, there's going to be quite a lot of growth with different businesses that we've got at different life cycles, but all with the ability to scale quite quickly. I haven't really thought past next few years of really just making sure all of these grow into fully fledged businesses. So maybe if we do another podcast in a few years, we'll be looking at, do we continue to build? Do we continue to diversify, or are we looking to sell, or that might be? But I have not thought of that. I just feel so excited about what's happening right now and the ability to grow some of these, what are passionate ideas, into fully fledged businesses.
Fantastic. So yeah, interesting to hear that you've got these ideas as to where things might go, but because they're still early days, not sure what the future will look like. And that is a lot of people with younger businesses absolutely do think about things like that. And it is a good, honest answer with that, Cam. So thank you for sharing that.
Maybe that's where I need the mentor to help me guide that next phase.
Maybe. So if you're out there listening and you are in a position and you like Cam, please do reach out and I'll connect you up. But Cam, the last question for you today is, who would you like to hear on the show?
I'd actually love to interview you next and actually hear your story, because you've done 150 podcasts. And I've been through the people that you've had on this, that you've had some exceptional people that I admire at what they've done in the industry. And they'll go from all different areas. You haven't just gone a food and beverage operator. It's all around hospitality. And I'd love to hear your story about how this came about and why.
I really appreciate that. Thank you for giving me as your guest on my show. It'd be hard for me to interview myself, but thank you very much for joining me on the program today. Again, it's been a pleasure to have you on, hear about your journey and the exciting things that you've done since the 20-something-year-old that went to London or to the UK and worked in Shoreditch, and then over to the amazing things that you're doing now. And glad to share your story and very glad to be connected. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to staying in touch as things develop.
Thanks so much for having me. I know it's been a while since we tried to make this happen, but thoroughly enjoyed having the show with you today.
This program is hosted by James Henderson. Voiceovers were by Angus Brennan and Shim Phelan. Thanks to our distribution team, and a special thanks to you for tuning in every week. This program was produced by H Media. We'll see you soon.